Man, do I love this sport and do I love talking about it. Man, this was a great week for me. Don't believe me? We're going to get to that in just a second. But my goodness, I had a great time this weekend. Anyways, welcome back to Grizzly Talks Football. We were past episode 25, that was like last Wednesday, with the Week 9 NFL predictions. Not looking good at all, those predictions are. But that's not what this week is about. It's about Week 10's reactions to college football games and also the Week 11 AP poll. Actually, I'm going to save that for for Wednesday, because the playoff rankings, the very first ones, come out Tuesday night. I'm just kidding. I'm going to do the AP poll as well, but I will cover the college football playoff poll on Wednesday when I do the Week 10 NFL predictions. But anyways, if you are new to this series, I will leave a link in the description to the entire playlist so that you guys can watch every single video so that you're all caught up. And you will also have that for future episodes whenever I post them. Also, make sure to hit the red subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video. Be sure to smash that like button as well. But anyways, without further ado, let's go to the games. Kicking things off, we got College Game Day / Big Noon Kickoff from the same game. Ohio State, number 4, took on number 3, Penn State. 20-13 was the final score in favor of the Buckeyes. It's about damn time that I got a College Game Day pick right. Man, I tried to tell everybody that Ohio State is not out of it yet. Not even close. Those Ohio State Buckeyes have only lost to the best team in the country right now in the Oregon Ducks. Like, why are people saying that Penn State is going to win? Do you guys realize that James Franklin is now 1-10 against Ohio State? 1-10. That's pretty bad. Despite winning the turnover battle, Penn State's offense just could not get anything going. They couldn't score points if their lives depended on it. They had to depend on field goals and a defensive touchdown. No touchdowns were scored on offense. That's what basically lost them the game. As for stats, Will Howard had a solid game, 180 yards on 16-24 for 2 touchdowns and a pick. Meanwhile, Drew Aller had a nightmare of a game, 12-20, 150 yards and an interception of his own. As far as rushing, Quinshon Judkins led the way with 95 rushing yards on 7 yards a carry. Judkins and Henderson combined for around 150 yards, 24 carries on 6 yards a carry. That two-headed monster is a problem for the Big Ten. The lead receiving was the freshman Jeremiah Smith, a 17-year-old, 4 catches for 55 yards, and the only 2 touchdowns in the game were by Emeka Egbuka and Brandon Inniss on the offensive side. As for Penn State, rushing game, terrible. I guess Tyler Warren had 47 yards on the ground on 3 carries. I think he just had a long run, and then everything else was just absolutely abysmal. He added 4 catches for 47 yards as well, but it was Nicholas Singleton who led the team receiving with 6 catches for 54 yards. Defensively for Ohio State, they were able to get to the quarterback twice, get 3 pass defenses, and an interception by Davison Igbinosun. And there was also a great game for Cody Simon, who had a sack and double-digit tackles on the game. Let me just say, Penn State's defense tried everything they could to win this game. They had 3 sacks in this game, a forced fumble from Zakie Wheatley, who had a very good game, 2 sacks from Abdul Carter, Kobe King even had himself a sack, 3 pass defenses, and a pick 6 by Zion Tracy, but the offensive struggles just cost them the game. After struggling against Nebraska, Ohio State picked themselves up and was able to win a huge top 5 matchup. On the road, nonetheless. And surprisingly, only had 1 top 25 matchup. It was number 18 Pitt and number 20 SMU, with SMU smacking Pitt at home in Dallas, 48-25. This was huge for SMU. Not only them, but also BYU, the only team that SMU has lost to so far this season. But Pitt, you had a good run while it lasted. Unfortunately, it ended abruptly for you guys. But keep your heads up. You guys have a lot of winnable games coming up. So don't lose hope just yet. I will say, though, Pitt had 6 fumbles in this game. 6. They only lost 1 of them, but the turnover battle was just very crucial for SMU to win this game, because Pitt kept it close to them in total yards. Unfortunately, turnovers do tend to change the course of a game, especially interceptions. Nate Yarnell had 10 passes, completed 9 out of 10 for 99 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had a heck of a game as a backup, but Eli Holstein had 48 attempts at passing, completed 29 of them, no touchdowns, 250 yards, interception. What? How do you attempt 48 passes and not throw a single touchdown? I don't know. But Kevin Jennings had a heck of a game with 17 and 25 for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's insane. Nothing exciting about Pitt's rushing game except for Desmond Reed's touchdown, 4 yards to carry for 50 yards. And receiving was led by Kenny Johnson, who had 8 catches for 81 yards and a score, with the other touchdown going to Malachi Thomas. Oh yeah, don't forget, Konata Mumpfield had 6 catches for 68 yards as well. He was pretty impactful for Pitt's passing game. As far as SMU, who good hell, Pitt could not stop Rashard Smith at all. 160 yards, 7 yards a carry on 23 carry attempts and 2 touchdowns. Wow. Oh yeah, and he also had a receiving touchdown. There was also Matthew Hibner, who had 3 catches, 108 yards and a score. There was also Keyshawn Smith, who had 3 catches for 89 yards. Pretty good game from all 3 of those guys. Unfortunately for Pitt's defense, as much as they had 2 sacks and 2 pass defenses, they just could not stop the run for anything. Not only did SMU's rushing game win in the game, so did the defense. Oh boy, 3 sacks. There are so many players on this SMU team that had stats on the defensive side. That's crazy stuff. 2 forced fumbles, 1 recovered by Cam Robertson. There was also a pick by Jonathan McGill. Man, this was a crazy game for that SMU defense. And in addition to that, there were 10 passes defensed by this defense. That is insane. Absolutely incredible game by SMU. Scoring 48 points against the ranked team is not easy, but when you're at home and you got the home crowd feeling it, it becomes a lot easier, I gotta be honest with you. Pitt, you had a great run. SMU, holy cow, you guys are actually elite. And now we get to the fun part. There are a ton of upsets this week. After 2 or 3 weeks filled with no ranked versus unranked upsets, let's get straight to the first one. First one, we got Minnesota going to Champaign and stunning Illinois 25-17. Did not have this on my bingo card, not at all. On paper, both of these quarterbacks performed just about the exact same. 60% completions, 200 yards, a touchdown for each of them through the air. On paper, these two had an even game. It's just the fumbles were the reason why Illinois lost. It was the same thing with the rushing game. They were even on total yardage, and they also had the same amount of touchdowns. It's just Illinois had 2 fumbles that cost them the game. And there was also the fact that it was 2 different stories. Darius Taylor completely killed it on the ground with 130 yards, 22 carries on 6 yards a carry, and a touchdown on the ground. He also had 9 catches for 58 yards. That is unbelievable. But the leading receiver was Daniel Jackson, who had 5 catches for 74, but Elijah Spencer also had 6 catches for 67 yards. And also can't forget the touchdown for Jameson Gears. As for Illinois' defense, Josh McCray had 72 yards on 10 yards to carry. He only had 7 carries, and he got the only rushing touchdown of the game. 2 players had 70 receiving yards, being Pat Bryant with 5 for 72, and Sakari Franklin with 5 catches, 71 yards, and a score. And also, Luke Altmaier also had tried to carry 10 times and only got 12 rushing yards. I'm very sure he fumbled them, at least one of those 2. I'm not too sure, but yeah, not a smart decision to carry the ball 10 times. Defensively for Minnesota, they got 4 sacks on this game. There were also 3 pass defenses for Cody Lindenberg, 2 forced fumbles by Danny Strigo, who also had a recovery, and Ja Joyner, with the other recovery going to Maverick whichever last name he is. It's an absolute solid showing by the defense. They were able to force 2 fumbles and also do well in the pass defense and also getting to the quarterback on the pass rush. As for Illinois, they only got to the quarterback twice and had 4 pass defenses, but moral of the story was that they could not get to the rushing game at all. They ran into brick walls in the offensive line. This one was definitely shocking to me. I thought maybe Illinois would have a good time at home, but nope. You can't disrespect those Minnesota Golden Gophers. I mean, they've already beaten USC. Like, that Minnesota team's for real. Up next, we had an upset in Ames, Iowa, where the Red Raiders from Texas Tech defeated number 11 Iowa State 23-22 with a touchdown with seconds left to spare in the fourth quarter. That was a tremendous choke job by the Cyclones. Unbelievable, and just like that, their undefeated season is done. And it also leaves the BYU Cougars as the only undefeated left in the Big 12. Crazy stuff. Thank you, Red Raiders. Let me just say, Barry Morton is nowhere near a Texas Tech air raid quarterback, but he did enough to win, I suppose. 21-40 for 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, but also 2 picks, so he didn't outperform Rocco Bent whatsoever. Speaking of Rocco Bent, he had 300 yards on 22 of 38 for 2 touchdowns and a pick, so it's not like he was at fault here. The defense just could not stop Josh Brooks whatsoever. He had 5 yards to carry, 122 yards, and the game-winning touchdown on the ground. Leading the receiving, no surprise, was Josh Kelly, who had 8 catches, 127 yards, and 2, both of the touchdowns through the air. Absolutely amazing player, or at least an amazing performance. As for Iowa State, Abu Sama had a pretty solid game with 6 yards to carry for 74 yards on 13 carries. Carson Brown had a 44-yard touchdown, and Jaden Higgins had himself 10 catches, 140 yards, and a score. What a player. What an unbelievable game for Jacob Rodriguez. He had 2 sacks and a forced fumble that was recovered by Chapman Lewis, and the defense also had an interception courtesy of A.J. McCarty. As for Iowa State's defense, they were able to get 3 sacks today with 2 interceptions by Darian Porter and Miles Purchase. And they had 6 pass defenses with a forced fumble. How in the world did Iowa State choke this game? I also want to give a shout out to Iowa State's kicker, Kyle Conrady. He had 3 of 4 field goals, but he also had 10 points on the day. Don't fret, Cyclone fans. You still have a chance in the Big 12 championship. You just can't lose another game. Oh yeah, BYU had a bye week. That's why there's no BYU game. But anyways, Kansas State loses to Houston 24-19. Can someone drug test Houston right now? Because there's no way they are getting this hot right now. That makes me a bit nervous to play them in the final game of the season, and I'm very sure that is our senior night. Avery Johnson had a performance that was really hard to watch. 240 yards, 23 of 39, but 1 touchdown and 2 picks. Ouch. And Zion Chris attempted 11 passes. He didn't miss a single pass. He had 100 yards and a score. Absolutely incredible. He turned into a little Jared Goff there this game. Kansas State's rushing attack was just, horrible. I mean, DJ Giddens got a touchdown, but this was definitely not the Kansas State team that ran for like 200 yards a game. And also, Jace Brown led receiving with 3 catches for 86 yards, but Kinka Johnson also had 6 catches, 76 yards, and a touchdown to add to it. As for Houston, 75 rushing yards for Zion Chris and a score, and the other touchdown went to Donovan Smith. Receiving was surprisingly led by Joseph Manjack, who had a 44-yard reception with the only touchdown going to Malik Carr, but the most receptions any receiver had was 4. What? Oh yeah, because Houston carried the ball 40 times in this game. What in the world? There was 4 sacks for the Kansas State defense, and also a fumble that was forced by Toby Usansami and recovered by Desmond Purnell. But they just could not stop that rushing attack for some reason after 40 carries? Oh yeah, and despite not being able to get to the quarterback a single time, they were able to pick him off twice with Michael Batten and Jeremiah Wilson. There was also Keith Cooper from Tulane that transferred with Fritz to Houston. And there were 4 pass defenses with a forced fumble by Latravian McCutcheon. Willie Fritz gets his signature win, like one of the first of the season for Houston in his debut season with the Cougars. And they take down a team that was once in the top 15. Absolutely insanity. that the Big 12 has become. That makes me nervous as a BYU fan because we could be next. Because we got Utah on Saturday, and if we fall, the Big 12 is going to be pure chaos. And now we're getting to the two late games that both were upsets by unranked teams over ranked teams. Absolutely unbelievable what's going on here in the NCAA. Louisville takes down number 11 Clemson. I know their ranking says 22, but they were unranked at the time of this game. But they won this game 33-21, marking their first victory against Clemson ever. Remember when everybody said Clemson was going to be in the ACC championship game and they would crush Miami? Yeah, not so confident now, are we, Tigers? Well, at least Cade Klubnik played well with 230 yards, 33 of 56, and a touchdown, but no picks. Tyler Shaw had an okay game. He had 53% completion, 17 of 32 for 150 yards, no touchdowns or picks. But every touchdown by the offense was on the ground. If you don't believe me, take a look at this. Isaac Brown had 150 yards, 7.6 yards a carry, and a touchdown, with the other two touchdowns going to Tyler Shaw and Keywan Brown. Crazy stuff. Not much to really show for passing because they didn't really need to throw that much. Well, yeah, didn't really need to throw that much and also not throw a single touchdown to win this game. Ja'Cory Brooks led that category with 4 catches for 42. But Clemson's rushing attack was also very good, so it was pretty much an offensive shootout for the most part. Defenses didn't really perform too well. 170 yards on 6 yards to carry on 30 attempts for Phil Maffa and 2 touchdowns on the game. Wow. Crazy stuff. How are you going to waste this guy's performance to play like absolute ass against Louisville? The leading receiver was TJ Moore with 5 catches for 63 yards. The touchdown went to Antonio Williams. And even Phil Maffa had 5 catches for 28 yards. Oh my goodness. Phil Maffa was a beast in this game. Even though Louisville's defense had 1 sack total and they also had, I believe, 9 pass defenses, they just could not stop the run, and neither could Clemson. Says why? Because Clemson's pass rush and run defense was just abysmal all game, despite 2 pass defenses and a forced fumble. I mean, Wade Wood has had a pretty solid game, but that's just about it. Moral of the story, if the defense can't stop a run, your offense is going to get fatigued and you are not going to be able to catch your breath if you're the offense. They did score 14 points in the 4th quarter, but by then it was already too late. Louisville was up 26-7 at the end of the 3rd quarter. That's how you know this game was just coming to an end at some point. Sorry, Clemson, it just was not your night. I couldn't watch this game because, man, it was late and I needed some rest. I couldn't watch this game either, but holy cow, this was a shocker as well. South Carolina brought number 10 Texas A&M to Columbia and absolutely smacked them in the mouth, 44-20. South Carolina can easily be 7-1 if they just do not blow their chances of winning these games. Like the ones against LSU and Alabama, they could have easily won and they would easily be a top 15 team, but nope, their own mistakes are the reason why they're 5-3. But still, this was a big shocker. Marcel Reed, he didn't have an absolute horrible game. I mean, he had 64% completion percentage, 200 yards, a touchdown and a pick, but as far as quarterback performance, he was actually not that bad. The shocker was that Lenore Sellers had 244 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks on 13 of 27. Sure, he had 48% completions, but he scored some points. Give him props for that. Rushing game was led by Amari Daniels, who had 6 yards to carry on 83 yards and a score. Leading receiver was, of course, Jaber Barber. I don't know how to pronounce his first name, but that's the best I got. 7 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown, the only one on the receiving end for A&M. As for South Carolina, Lenore Sellers and Rocket Sanders both had 100 rushing yards. They had to combine 250 yards on 35 carries and 3 touchdowns. That is a 2-headed monster waiting from the SEC. Man, If those two have an amazing game, you better watch out, SEC, because South Carolina could run down your throats and you might not even know it. Oh yeah, and why not give him 5 catches, 92 yards for Rocket Sanders as well, because he's just him. And Joshua Simon had a hell of a game on the receiving end. 4 catches, 130 yards, and 2 touchdowns is really impressive. Those 3 players between Sanders, Sellers, and Simon, they all balled out. I mean, they have S to start their last names, so it really makes sense. Only 1 turnover forced by A&M's defense. Forced fumble by Will Lee, recovered by BJ Mays, but they couldn't get to the quarterback a single time or stop the run, despite 3 pass defenses. 3 sacks, of course, by South Carolina's defense. I mean, Demetrius Knight had a very solid game with double-digit tackles. Interception by O'Donnell Fortune. Forced fumble by Tonka Hemingway. Kyle Kennard, the main stud on that South Carolina defense, gets the recovery. Absolutely impressive day for South Carolina. Rushing game took over the game. 1 receiver was able to absolutely dominate the A&M defenders. And A&M's offense couldn't get anything going pretty much the entire second half, as they had a goose egg that entire time. 20-20 at halftime, 24-0. South Carolina has 24 unanswered points in the second half to upset a top 10 Texas A&M team. Absolutely incredible performance. I want to talk about one more game before it's all said and done, because this is a big situation. Vanderbilt becomes bowl eligible for the first time since 2018 with a win at Jordan-Hare in Auburn, 17-7. Sure, this game was not very exciting, but Vanderbilt was able to chew down the entire 4th quarter from what I saw. I was actually eating out, and I saw this game, and I saw the 4th quarter when Vanderbilt was running the clock out in the final quarter. 15 minutes of Vanderbilt getting their 6th win, being bowl eligible. Sure, Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia had a pretty abysmal completion percentage with 9 completions for 140 yards, but he did throw 2 touchdowns, which is very nice. Peyton Thorne even had 20 of 29 for a touchdown and 240 yards, because he's actually a pretty good quarterback. This really makes me wish that they had time of possession stats for college games, because rushing games for both teams, pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie, it was very bad. 2 touchdowns for Vanderbilt went to A.J. Newberry and Eli Stowers for scores, and the only one for Auburn was for Rivaldo Fairweather, who had 5 catches for 66 yards and a score, with the leading receiver being Keandre Lambert-Smith with 4 catches for 78 yards. Vanderbilt's defense also had 3 sacks in this game, a forced fumble by C.J. Taylor, recovered by DeRicky Wright, and 4 pass defenses. They were able to absolutely hold their own despite the low-scoring game. They were able to stop the run at all times. Fortunately, not so much the pass, but they were able to still get the win regardless, so great job, commies. And as for Auburn, not sure what to really say, except you had no sacks and 3 pass defenses. At least Dario Mossi looks decent. Anchor down, Commodore fans. Your doors are going bowling this year. Hope you're proud of that. Maybe your coach can actually get you guys to maybe perhaps an at-large bid, maybe an SEC championship, who knows. Future looks bright for Vanderbilt. And now we get to the Week 11 AP poll. Top 5 I am actually very fine with. Oregon at 1, despite Ohio State, I think they should be number 2 right now, but Georgia is number 2 because they were able to beat a then top-ranked Texas team, despite Alabama beating a top-ranked Georgia team. But anyways, Ohio State is number 3. Yeah, honestly, I think Ohio State should be ahead of Georgia based on who both of those teams lost to. And also the way Georgia has been playing. Man, they struggled against Florida? No, it was in Athens too. They struggled in Athens against the Gators. You should not be number 2 right now. Miami being at 4 is fine, and number 5, Texas being there is fine. 6 through 10, we got Penn State at 6. I think that's okay. That's okay. I would honestly think Tennessee should be 6, Penn State should be 7, maybe 8 behind Indiana. But speaking of the Hoosiers, Indiana highest ranking in a long time. At number 8, BYU stays at 9 because of all the upsets to the teams that happen behind them. And Notre Dame is in the top 10 yet again. 11 through 15, Bama and Boise State at 11 and 12. I'm honestly respecting it. Alabama's got a college game day against number 14 LSU. Well, we'll have to see what the CFP rankings look like, but first AP poll, top 15 matchup, I gotta talk about that too. Boise State has been on a tear ever since they lost to the best team in the country right now. But man, Ashton Jeanty is a dog. I think he needs to win the Heisman now. SMU is a top 15 team again. For the first time since 2018 or 2019, whichever year they were top 15. But man, they have been on a roll. There was also LSU and Texas A&M dropped to 15. Honestly, I think they should have dropped further, but you know what? I'll take it. It is their only loss, so I kind of respect it. 16 through 20, we got Ole Miss at 16. That's fine, I guess. Iowa State at 17. Honestly, those two teams should be flipped. Army at 18, still unbeaten, by the way. Clemson drops all the way to 19. I guess Wazoo, Washington State, and top 20 as well. I'm fine with that too. And believe it or not, BYU has wins over 2 current ranked teams right now in the AP poll. SMU and Kansas State. Colorado is at 21. K-State falls to 22 behind Pitt. Feel like Pitt should be 22, but they're 23 right now. It's not my call, it's their call. So I gotta respect it. Vanderbilt and Louisville round out to top 25. Vanderbilt's ranked once again, and Louisville is back in the rankings for the first time in quite a while. I need to go back to the 11th through 15 because this is college game day for next week. We got Bama against LSU in Death Valley. Yes, sir. That is exactly what college game day is going to be. And I'm going to be real with y'all. As much as I want to go with the LSU Tigers and Garrett Newsmeyer, ride his coattail, yeah, no. I'm taking the Crimson Tide in this one. As much as people want to say, well, Alabama's washed. Yeah, no. They're not losing a single game. Maybe one more game. This is basically win and you're still alive, lose and you're out of the race. That is what's at stake for Alabama and LSU right now. It's going to be a crazy, crazy weekend when it comes. Roll Tide. And that is going to do it for Grizzlies Toss Football for this episode. If you enjoyed it, you make sure you give this video a big like. Make sure you hit the red subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video. Anyways, until next time, I will see you guys later. Peace.